All right, starting the live a little early. Let's see who pops in. 7 minutes early, so I'll just kind of sit here quietly and talk to everybody. Turn this down. Hopefully people pop in early with the announcement. Oh, we got one person. Glenn, how are you? Brian Mons, what's up, man? You guys tonight. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Multidimensional. John Collins. Kenneth Delirium, how are you? Hollow Days. Robert Jarrett. Harry Griffith, how are you? Nick Carroll. Well, you know, I almost didn't do a live. I had made the announcement. Rex, how are you? Sean, how are you, buddy? Tyler, how are you? Chad, welcome, Chad. I'm glad that you're here with us, my friend. Rich, how are you, buddy? Animes. There's Janie. The channel godmother is in the house. How are you, Janie? Sarah, how are you? That's right. I don't have a garbage in here anymore. Squire. Yeah, so I almost didn't do a live today because I just had some stuff that I needed to kind of take care of and whatever. Lake Superior, how are you? But yeah, it was. I had my muse helped me through the day, so I had an amazing day, and I was looking forward to doing it. So I'm pretty happy that we're here tonight. Andy Davis, how are you? But I've got some really good stuff tonight. I've got black-eyed kids, shadow figures, crawlers, some Dogman. I've got a really good story with some pictures, kind of like that one that I had found, was it like 6 months ago? So I'm pretty stoked. Just good. How are you? Did I miss anybody? Mag, how are you? Mag XL, how are you? Always good seeing you, Andy Davis. Always good seeing you. What's up, Eric? How are you, buddy? Pedro Rodriguez, how are you? I'm glad everyone's here tonight. I'm glad I'm here tonight. For real. Got a haircut today. Hair's looking good. Monica, Jason Murphy, how are you, buddy? Gordon Rams, how are you? First time in the live. I'm glad that you're here, man. Glad that you're here. We got 2 live newbies tonight. That's awesome. So happy. Ginger, what's up, buddy? Aramic will be here. There's DB Mac. DB Mac is with us. Kathy, how are you? Arabic! DK Spiracy, welcome to the live. That's awesome. Three newbies, and I bet you there's some newbies that are hiding in the shadows, like ninjas, that just don't want to come out. They're like doing the little foot stepping. Arabic, thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Starting the night off. Wow. Magnus, how are you? Motorboat, what's up? Good seeing you. Hollow, I think I said hi to Hollow, but just in case. Alfie, how are you? Kathy Hayes, congratulations, your first granddaughter. That is awesome. Congratulations to you and your daughter and your whole family. That is amazing. A new life will be born on Monday. Good stuff. That is freaking good stuff, man. Ethan, what's up, buddy? How are you? Being good for your dad? Hope so. Ryu, what's up, buddy? N4 up D. Brian Johnson, how are you, buddy? He says good and yeah. How come I don't believe that? No, I'm just kidding. Multidimensional. Wow, thank you so much, Bill Isaac. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Wow, thank you. Chuck Norris was once bitten by a king cobra, and 5 days later, dude, I was talking to my dad today, and we were talking about like how our generation, right? My dad's like, I thought the New People magazine would have Chuck Norris on it, and I'm like, the generation after myself, I'm going to be 50 this year, really didn't pay attention to Chuck Norris, you know what I mean? And so like Chuck Norris is the guy who like fucking threw a rock and I don't even know, stopped World War III. Just a fucking amazing guy. Once again, Arabic and multidimensional. Thank you guys for the love of the channel. Chuck Norris stepped in the middle of Texas one day, stomped really hard, and water sprouted up. And he bottled it himself and sold me some. And I drank some on the live stream. And it was the worst tasting fucking water ever. But it was from Chuck Norris, and that's all that mattered. Ed Bot, how are you? Danny, what's up, my friend? Samara. The Octagon. The Octagon was definitely one of Chuck's greater movies. Yeah, right. The boogeyman does look under his bed. Wiley, what's up, my friend? The Octagon was definitely one of his better movies. My favorite was Lone Wolf McQuade and always will be. Jimmy! What's up, Jimmy? I was just talking about you, buddy. Just talking about you. DL Hemingway, how are you tonight? Glad that you're here with us, Jimmy. Clint, how are you? Long time, buddy. You haven't been here in like a couple weeks, have you? Good seeing you, though. Kay, how are you? Jan. Haven't seen Clint in a while. It's always good to see him, though. Always good to see him. Watching Evil Dead. Ooh, that's a good one. What's the movie that supposedly is connected to the Evil Dead, but it's technically not? But if you, I don't know. I know there is a movie that's sort of connected, but not connected. Hang on one second. Movie connected to the Evil Dead, but not really. Drag Me to Hell. Evil Dead franchises. Drag Me to Hell. If you guys watch Evil Dead and then watch Drag Me to Hell, it's literally fits so perfectly. Eric Krause, Bosdo, great flavor tall. Yeah, definitely R.I.P. Chuck. One of Chuck Norris's greatest fight scenes, David Carradine and Chuck in Lone Wolf McQuade. I swear to God, every time I watched that movie when I was a little kid, I like longed to have a sibling so I could pretend I was Chuck Norris and beating him up. But I did root for David Carradine. I did root for David Carradine in that movie though, because David Carradine's a badass dude. I liked him too. Three cultural icons. You're absolutely right, Tyler. ATW, yep, Bruce Lee. Marcelly, how are you? Dane, Sonia, Cat Gets, how are you guys? Scooby Doo, how are you? All right, let's start the night. Let's start the night right. What I've got tonight, I got three Lizzo stories for you. I'm pumped up and ready to go. I got some badass stories. Anushka, how are you? And I'm ready. I'm ready, and I hope you guys are. So let's start this. We'll start with a shadow person story and work our way through it, and then we'll do a Black Eyed Kids because I know how much you guys like those. Sorry, I'm not the best writer, but I'm going to try my best to relay my encounter. A bit of backstory to what I'm going to say here. I grew up in a smaller town in Ontario, Canada called Shelburne. A farm town, really, surrounded mostly by farmland and patched of marsh and woodland. Just outside of town, there is an old railway. Tracks have been torn up long ago, but the rocky, sandy road is still there. It runs through some woods and swamp, and later on down the way to my farmland. Now, I've been playing in those woods for years. I was born there. My friends and I would explore, build forts, camp, etc. It was one of our favorite places to be, but there was always something off about those woods. Sometimes when we were out there doing whatever, it'd get very, very quiet and still. No wind, animals, nothing. It would get like this randomly, though not very often at all. There would be no strange things, no ghosts, no aliens, just an odd stillness. And everyone would just get very uncomfortable and want to leave. For example, when I was 15, six friends and I were camping, having a fire, playing music, drinking, and having fun. Then it started. Everything became very still. Everyone's mood changed. People became quiet and uncomfortable. And this feeling of being watched came down upon me. No one said they were scared. No one ever would when this happened because we all grew up there and did not want to admit that we were afraid of such stupidness. We all quickly decided that we would go and drink at a friend's house. No one packed that. No one packed anything up. We all just left, just like me, everyone else. Just wanted to leave as fast as possible. This has happened a few times out in those woods, but the strangest thing is that as soon as we left the woods, the feeling would be 100% gone. We would almost completely forget about it and even sometimes go back for a few hours later with no problem at all. And that is the part that has always bothered me, how quick now to my encounter. It was July 2013, late at night, maybe 1 a.m. I think two friends and I had decided to go for a walk by the tracks, as we often did. We would just walk down them, enjoy the quiet, talk, and have a few smokes. We cut through the schoolyard to get to the tracks. Everything was normal. We had walked for a little bit when the feeling came. Everything got still, quiet, and uncomfortable. We all felt quiet just walking on, but it got worse this time. As we went on, the feeling got more and more intense. I felt as if the trees were watching us. I did not dare look behind me, and we all picked up our pace. I asked my friend for a lighter, even though I had one, just to break the silence. He gave me one and said nothing. We went on like that for a bit. When my friend Kenny suddenly stopped in his tracks, this terrified me. He was just staring off to the right into the trees as I looked for what had startled him so much is when I saw it. 10 feet away from us, in the trees, a figure was moving. It looked like a person, but all black. It seemed to walk through the brush, not making a sound or touch anything around it. I was frozen, and they were as well. I watched this thing for about half a minute, though it felt like hours. It walked the same direction we were going. It went that way for a bit, then came up the slope onto the tracks. It was further away now, but it walked along the tracks for a few seconds, then walked down the slope to the left and into the woods again. We stood there staring, shaking, and suddenly the feeling went away. It was like nothing had happened. The fear was gone. I wasn't even sure if anything had happened. I felt so stupid for being scared. I pretended to look for my smokes, so it did not seem like I was standing there staring into the woods. We kept on, finished our walk, didn't speak about it until about a year later when I asked my friend about it. He told me that he had seen the same thing, but he thought that he was just being a bitch and never said anything about it. We later asked our other friend, and he gave the same answer. We still go to those woods and still all occasionally experience that feeling of dread, but we have never seen that thing again. I always thought that having an experience like that would be so life changing. I rarely think about the event, and I even go back to where it happened. I think about it when it happened, but it doesn't scare me. I'm not scared of those woods. I was wondering what could have been going on. Was it a shadow person? Does anyone have any similar experiences? Thank you. All right. Pretty good experience to start the night off with. Pretty good. Let me see who popped in while I was reading that. Derek, thank you for becoming a member, my friend. I did say hi to Dane. Okay. All right. Phantasms. Yes. What's up, William Menendez? How are you? Mendez. Public library user. How are you, my friend? We got 100 people in. All right. I've got one experience that I want to share with you guys, but I'm gonna wait for a little bit so more people can hear it because it's got some pretty cool pictures with it. We'll do a black-eyed kids experience and then we'll hit a Lizo story. How's that? Black-eyed kids. Blake, how are you? Nexus, how are you? Maggie Mayhem, how are you? Clareless, how are you? Did I miss anybody? All right. Black-eyed kid encounter, 2009, Fairfax County, Virginia. About 4 or 5 years ago, obviously longer now, I was walking down a bike path in the back of my house with my stepdaughter when I saw 2 boys leaning against their bikes up ahead. I didn't really think much of it. One of the kids raised his head up and looked straight at me in the eyes. That's when fear struck me so hard I was stopped dead in my tracks. Their eyes were black and hollow, like he did not have a soul. It was like looking at pure evil, at least that is the way I described it when I recounted it later that evening to my husband and my other daughter. I immediately led my stepdaughter off that path, cut through someone's yard, and walked out onto the street. I didn't know what I had encountered at the time, but now I am quite sure it was a black-eyed child. I don't know what they are, but I know they are dangerous. It was so weird. I thought that my stepdaughter would also be aware of what I perceived to be impending danger. But she was completely oblivious, even when I led her off the path and onto the street. I somehow knew I had to get out of there, and now, surprisingly, they appeared normal in every other aspect, except for their eyes, of course, and the vague awareness that they didn't quite fit into the environment. I only saw the eyes of one of them because the other kid had his back to me. He looked around 13 or 14, flannel shirt, jeans, a swarthy complexion. Now that I have been reading about these encounters, it piques my curiosity, but I wouldn't want to run into one of them again. Thank you for allowing me to share. SDL, how are you? Smitty, what's up, my friend? Time are we in? We're 20 minutes in. About 20 minutes. Let me see. We'll do another experience before I share a Lizo. Or do you guys want to do a Lizo story right now? Ska, what's up, my friend? How are you? How you been? Another Lizo? Or a Lizo? You guys pick. My lady is doing well, Janie. Doing well. She's actually, we talked right before the live. She's probably watching right now. Welcome to the show, Rochelle. We literally muse. Amazing, Jane. Thank you for asking, though. I really appreciate that. Diana, Robert Sharp, how are you? Diana, welcome to the show. We got like 6 new people tonight. That's awesome. All right, let me pick. All right, so it's going to be a Lizo story for the new people that are new to the live. All right. We share experiences, basically any kind of paranormal experience. And there's a running joke. There's a few running jokes on this channel. One night about 2 years ago, maybe right when it started, I had made the joke about how we were talking about reptilians. And I had said, the most dangerous cryptid is the lot lizard. And it kind of stuck. And now I write a couple of stories about the protagonist, Lizo, the lot lizard, queen of the truck stop prostitutes, and her adventures on her truck stop diner. So that's what we'll get into right now. Let me find what one I want to do. All right, we'll start with this one, and then we'll work our way into some other stuff. All right. George, how are you? Randy, man, how are you guys? 5 rings. What's up? What's up? I think the Dodgers are ahead tonight. I believe. I know we got spanked the other night by Arizona. Adam Condon, how are you? My toaster wasn't waterproof. All right, here we go. Lizzo story. When you pull off Interstate 55 at mile marker 212 and stare at the neon halo that says Mason's 24-hour diner and truck stop, you have either lost your map or you're about to have the most unforgettable night of your life. The sign flickers a tired pink purple, the kind of color you'd expect at a cheap romance novel cover, and a low-rising hum of diesel engines mingled with the scent of fried catfish and cheap bourbon. The building itself looks like it was cobbled together from a former gas station, a busted diner, and a rust-caked love shack, all held together by a stubborn will to keep serving the road warriors of the South. Inside, the ambiance is glorious mashup of chaos and, well, who knows? The booths are patched with vinyl from the 70s. The jukebox, still alive despite being the size of a small car, spins a perpetual loop of Sweet Home Alabama and I Want You Back. The walls are plastered with faded Polaroids of truckers in their neon caps, a few of them clutching beer cans like trophies. And at the very heart of this crazy little kingdom sits a woman who could convince a stone-cold diesel engine to purr with a single look. Lizzo, the self-crowned queen of the Lot Lizard Junction, is a vision of swagger and shade. She's got a shaved head that shines like a freshly polished hubcap, tattoos that trace the story of her life on every visible inch of her skin, and a smile that would melt the chrome off a tractor trailer. She wears a tight denim jumpsuit that has seen more miles than a semi, a pair of sky blue leather boots that click against the floor with authority. By night, she runs a side business that the locals refer to as the night shift by day. She's the proprietor of the diner, manager of the fuel pumps, and unofficial mayor of every drifter, trucker, and wanderer to ever set foot in her domain. Her right-hand man, well, more accurately, her boy toy, is Earl Two Gear McAllister. Earl is a 6'4", barrel-chested trucker with a beard that's part salt and pepper, part road dust. He pilots his 18-wheeler, the mighty Mabel, into the lot every evening, parks it like a crown jewel, and slides into the kitchen to flip pancakes with the same precision he uses to shift gears. Their partnership is stuff of legend. Lizo with her razor-sharp wit and sharper reflexes, and Earl with his brawny hands and a heart that beats in sync with the diesel thrum. It's a Tuesday because in this part of Mississippi, the only thing more consistent than the humidity is the fact that Tuesdays are when the strange gets extra strange. The night started out like any other. The parking lot was a kaleidoscope of headlights, a 1979 Chevy, a rusted splattered 2002 Peterbilt, a convoy of 3 motorcycles that looked like they had been assembled from spare parts and bad decisions. Lizo perched on a high stool at the bar, sipping a whiskey sour that seemed to glow with an inner fire. Earl at the grill flipping catfish fillets while humming the chorus of Flotsam Prism Blues. The girls of night, who prefer to be called the night chorus, were lounging on the leather couches, draped in satin and lace, giggling over stories of the highway. A sudden gust of wind rattled the neon sign, and the jukebox hiccuped, switching from Sweet Home Alabama to an eerie low-pitched rendition of an old gospel hymn. The lights flickered, then steadied, only to reveal a pair of figures standing at the edge of the lot. They were not the usual drifters or late-night truckers. Their silhouettes were too tall, too angular, and their eyes glowed like embers pulled from a furnace. 2 demons. The taller one wore a long, tattered coat that seemed to be stitched from shadows. Its horns curled like a twisted branch from a cypress swamp, and its grin was a jagged slash of darkness. The shorter one, more agile, had claws that clicked against the concrete as it moved, and its eyes were twin pits of black fire. "Evening, Sugar," the taller demon purred, its voice resonating with an echo of 1,000 sighs. "We heard this place offers souls." Lizo set her glass down with a thud that reverberated through the diner's metal plates. She looked at the demon straight in the eye, her tattooed fingers tightening around the worn edge of the bar. "Sweetie, the only thing we serve here is fried catfish, cheap bourbon. If you're looking for souls, you're in the wrong goddamn driveway." Earl stepped out from behind the grill, wiping his hands on his denim apron. He cracked his knuckles. The sound was like a diesel engine spooling up. "You two look like you've taken a wrong turn at the river of hell," he drawled, his gaze never wavering. The 2 demons laughed, a sound like distant thunder, cracked and hollow. The taller one raised a clawed hand, and the air around it shivered. "We're not here for food, Earl. We're here for a fight, a good fight. We crave the taste of fear and the scent of blood." Lizo smirked, pulling a silver chain off the bar and tossing it into the air. It whirled, catching the light like a meteor, then snapped back into her fist. "You want a fight? Then you'll get one." The first blow came fast. The shorter demon lunged, its claws aimed for Lizo's throat. She ducked, her movement a blur of quick reflexes, and slashed the chain across its wrist. A weapon sang, tearing through the flesh and shadow. The demon let out a scream that rattled the windows. It recoiled. Blood, if you could call it that, sprayed across the concrete like tar. Earl, meanwhile, barreling forward with an unstoppable force of a semi on a downhill slope. Aramek! He grabbed the taller demon's leg, yanking it off balance and slamming it into a metal trash can. The can burst, sending a cascade of rusty cans and oily water flying, and that demon howled, its horns clashing against Earl's forearm, sending shock waves that rattled the dishes. But the demons were not so easily beaten. The taller one recovered, unleashed a wave of black flame that licked the walls of the diner, scorching the faded wallpaper. The flame painted the floor in an orange-black swirl, licking the boots of the night chorus. Lizo, already drenched in demon's dark blood, leaned against the counter, her eyes glinting. Earl, we need to. I'm on it, Earl grunted, slamming his massive shoulder into the demon's chest. The impact was like two freight trains colliding mid-track. The demon staggered, its horn breaking. A shriek echoed through the night like a banshee in a bayou. The younger demon hissed, its claws digging into the wooden table where the night chorus was huddled. The girls leapt up, screaming, but before they could scatter, Lizo threw her chain again, and this time it turned into a coil of bright humming energy. She looped it around the demon's neck and tightened, the chain shining like a strand of lightning. Enough, she shouted, her voice reverberated through the metal walls. You chose the wrong lot, and you chose the wrong queen. She pulled back, the chain snapped, releasing an explosive burst that sent the younger demon flying into the back wall, where it splintered into a cloud of ash and drifted like a smoke at a barbecue pit. The older demon's eyes flared and let out a guttural roar, feeling its power waning. Earl, sensing the shift, lifted his massive hand and planted it squarely on the demon's chest, the force of his grip squeezing out the very essence of the infernal presence. The demon's skin turned blacker, then cracked like an old paint, and a pulse of violet light burst out, rippling through the night. Lizo joined her hands with Earl's, and together they chanted a low, guttural rhyme, half a prayer, half a curse, learning from the dusty old grimoire she had picked up at a pawn shop in Jackson. The words seemed to pull at the very fibers of the universe, threading a portal with the sound like an old truck brake squelching. A vortex of swirling violet and orange opened in the middle of the lot, a rippling doorway that pulsed like a heart. The taller demon, now reduced to a trembling shadow, tried to step back up, but it was too late. With a final guttural scream, it was sucked into that portal, its form disintegrating into a spray of black ash that vanished the instant it touched the portal's edge. The vortex snapped shut with the sound of a tire blowout, and the night fell silent except for the soft clatter of plates and the distant rumble of a semi pulling into the lot. Earl leaned back, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling like the pistons of his rig. Well, he said, wiping a smear of demon blood off his cheek. That's one hell of a Tuesday night. Lizo laughed, a sound that was half triumphant, half pure unadulterated joy. She tossed the chain onto the bar, watching it glow briefly before turning into the night chorus. Ladies, she said, the road's still wide open. Nobody's taking home any souls tonight, but if you want a drink on the house. She gestured to the bartender, a grizzled man named Jeb, who served truckers for the past 30 years, who already had poured a round of bourbon for the entire diner. The girls cheered, clinking glasses, and the jukebox, as if on cue, switched back to Sweet Home Alabama. The neon sign outside flickered back to its habitual pink and purple glow as if nothing had happened. The air still smelled of fried catfish, stale gasoline, and the faint lingering scent of brimstone, just enough to make the regulars shiver. And the next morning, the first light of dawn painted the sky a washed-out orange. The trucks began rolling back onto the highway, the engines humming like crazy bees. Earl pulled the mighty Mabel into its spot, revved the engine, and gave Lizo a wink. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked, though she knew that at Mason's every day was a repeat of the last, only with a new face, new story, and perhaps some new demons. Lizzo smirked, her eyes reflecting that soft morning light. "You know it, Earl. But if another pair of demons decide to drop by, we'll give them the same welcome. Cold coffee, hot catfish, and a butt kicking they'll never forget." She turned to the rest of the crew. "All right, folks, clean up this mess. The kitchen's still open. The coffee's still hot. The road's still waiting. Let's make sure tomorrow's souls stay in the kitchen, not in hell's dimension." The staff, drifters, truckers, and the night chorus, all of them set to work. Brooms swished, dishes clanged, the smell of fried fish rose again, this time mingled with a faint aftertaste of victory. Behind the counter, at the corner table, the two demons, now nothing more than ash and faint lingering chill, could be heard coughing through the portal's echoes, their whispers lost in the clamor of truck horns and laughter. They had learned a valuable lesson that Tuesday night. Messing with Lizzo and Earl was like trying to outrun a freight train on a bike. Noisy and guaranteed to end in a spectacular crash. And so the legend of the Queen of the Lot Lizard Junction grew another chapter. Travelers who passed Mason's 24-hour diner and truck stop would later tell stories of the night when the neon lights flickered, the jukebox sang a hymn of doom. The queen herself turned a couple of hell's finest into a pale dish of ash while serving the best catfish you'd ever taste. They say it was funny. They say it was scary. And they all agree on one thing. If you ever find yourself stuck on a rainy Tuesday in the middle of Mississippi, pull into Mason's, because you never know when you might need a good old-fashioned ass kicking from the queen and her boy toy. And as always, the road keeps moving, the diesel keeps humming, and somewhere beyond the horizon, another set of horns wailed, perhaps signaling the approach of the next strange, the next impossible, and perhaps, just perhaps, the next demonic visitor. And somewhere in the back of Mason's, Lizzo tipped her hat, poured herself a fresh whiskey sour, and whispered to the night, "Bring it on." And there you go. Kakalina, how are you? Rosie, how are you? Johnny Ohm, I believe I said hi to you already. BLB, how are you? Jigger, what's up, buddy? Thank you, Aramic. Thank you very much. I actually like that one a lot. I fucking busted ass on that one today. Bandito. Thank you, Janie. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I'm glad you guys liked it. We lost last night, right? I think we lost last night or the night before. Who'd we lose to? 8-3 or some shit like that. 5 rings. Rosie, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Smitty! I'm sick tonight, feeling like 20 metric tons of dog ass. So I'm just going to have the live playing and got to keep my eyes closed. Much love, Jeff. Much love to the dog fam. Smitty, I hope you feel better, my friend. I hope you feel better. Thank you, Rosie, to the Coke Fund. These Mexican Cokes are expensive, man. They're fucking crazy. Actually, I got a good deal. I got a guy in town who owns Anchor Beverage Center up here, and he charges me like $30 a case of them. So I guess that's not too bad. Tonight we won it in the ninth. Or was that the other night? I don't even know. I don't even know. I know we lost. Didn't we lose one? I think we lost one. The other night. That's what I meant. To Arizona, right? I think we're gonna three-peat that shit this year, buddy. How about you? Three-peat. So I think what I'm gonna do, um, I'm gonna I'm gonna start a web page and my own web page. This week I'm gonna work on it with my girlfriend because she knows how to do that shit. I don't. And I'm gonna put together some regular stuff on there, and then I'm gonna put some voice acting stuff on there for you guys. So whatever you guys want to listen to, almost like Patreon, but I'm going to pay more attention to it because it's going to be mine, and I'll probably discontinue Patreon, and just do my own stuff on my own webpage, including the channel, obviously. And then me and Jimmy can sell the book on the webpage. But the book is going to be done. The book is going to be done in like Jimmy just asked me, Mr. Haunted just asked me about my thank you. So it's done. Yep. Actually, so Catalina, my girlfriend is the girl that I had my encounter with when we were younger. And we literally dated on and off my entire life. We hadn't seen each other in like 20 years now. And she reached out to me, and literally she reached out, and it was a connection right back. So good stuff. Thank you guys. Thank you. I'm happier than a pig in shit. What's up, buddy? 59th, how are you? And what's funny is when we were talking on the phone the first night, and she had found out about the channel. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you." And I'm like, "Thank you." I'm kind of weird about that. I don't, you know what I mean, about the channel and stuff. And I was like, "Do you remember the night?" And her instant words were the vampires, because that's what the girls said. They fucking, the second those things made the noise in the woods, it was like they yelled vampires and they flew in the car and hid on the floor. Yep. So thank you guys. And she's super, super, like, here's the thing. I have been not stimulated freaking intellectually. And I love playing Scrabble, and I love just talking about like silly shit, just stuff in general. So we can do that too. So thank you guys for all your kindness and that. I appreciate it. All right, let's get into a story. I got a long black-eyed kid story here. I want to do that real quick. She may not. Jay Cortez, what's up? She may not. She's not very she's shy about things. All right, here we go. I've been fascinated with the supernatural world and have strange encounters since I was 6 years old. I'm 30 now. After hearing some of these experiences, I'm surprised some are similar to my own. This happened July 2007, Arlington, Texas. I was so ready to go on my lunch break because the doctor's office was extremely busy, full of patients. I walked to a nearby taco restaurant to get some fresh air and was appalled at the fact they did not wear gloves while preparing my food. I did not want to eat there after that and just ordered a drink. I headed back to work. I was about 20 minutes away from my job and something within me said, "Be careful, Crystal." I was freaking out at this point because my mind started racing with all kinds of thoughts. Am I going to be abducted by a homeless person that lives in the woods? Am I going to be hit by a car? Is someone following me? After realizing I was safe and only 10 minutes away from my job, I calmed down. Of course, that voice came at me again. "Be careful, Crystal." I looked to my left, no cars. Looked to my right, bushes that were taller than me, straight ahead, sidewalk, and the corner store to the right next to the street where you turn into. As soon as I passed the bushes, I saw a very tall, skinny man. He was at least 6 foot 8 inches, all tan brown clothing with brown sandals. And he was dark skinned. He was walking in the middle of the street, heading to the sidewalk I was walking on. I knew something was not right about him. He walked very slowly, like some sort of predator sneaking upon its prey. What really creeped me out was when his foot hit the pavement. It was like it weighed a ton. He was looking straight ahead, and I couldn't keep my eyes off him. I slowed my pace because if I kept walking at that speed, I would have been face to face with this man. Damn it, I hate when it sticks together. Hang on, sorry guys. I would have been face to face with this man, still watching him slowly walk as his feet hit the pavement very hard, creepy. Inside my mind, I was like, he's going to get me. As soon as I thought that, he turned his head very quickly to his left and saw me. His eyes were black, but it was like he didn't have eyelids, just black sockets. I damn near had a panic attack. I walked even slower, hoping he would go anywhere but near me. He turned to his right onto the sidewalk I was on ahead of me. His eyes were locked upon mine, and that's when his face morphed into what looked like a demon. Yeah. I walked into the corner store and did like 3 laps around that store slowly, terrified the man would hurt me. The lady at the register asked if I was all right. I smiled and said, yeah. I was 5 minutes away from my job, so I decided to continue walking after I left the store. When I got back onto the sidewalk, I did not see him anywhere. I frantically looked for him because an entity walking that slow couldn't have gone that far. I gave up looking and began walking really fast, but slowed down when I heard it again. Crystal, be careful. I passed the business to my right, more bushes, and after the bushes, boom, to my right, the guy, standing by a building watching me until I walked into my job. I refused to walk home after dark and did not want to ask or walk to or from work for at least a week. I was so afraid he would find me. I had nightmares, but forced myself to stop thinking about him. I was so convinced for some reason that if I kept thinking about him, he was going to knock on my door. Did I miss anybody? No. All right. I don't know. Nikola Tesla, how are you, my friend? I don't know. Johnny Sumner, what's up, buddy? Beautiful new car, Sumner. By the way, I forgot to comment on that. I love the new car, brother. I don't believe Rosie Holt is in here tonight yet, but I want to kind of do a thank you guys. Rosie always sends packages to me, and because I'm going to be hiking this summer a lot and doing stuff outside, she sent me a rock tumbler kit. I've never had one of these, and I'm literally gonna pick up a bunch of like river stones and make some cool shit. Hercules Misfits, what's up, buddy? She always sends me some neat stuff, man. She sent me a calligraphy set one time. She's very thoughtful. So, Rosie, thank you. I'll thank you again when I see you pop in too. Basil, how are you? Brandy, how are you? I said hi to Samara, Kathy, John. All right. People ask me to explain why I have a lot of skeletons in my closet. I keep them there because they can't fit under the bed anymore. But I am too lazy to throw them out. You've had much better, Aramic. That was good, but you've had much better. Dude, seashells, I used to collect when I was little. My family owns a house on the backside of Mount Desert Island, Bar Harbor, and it's Southwest Harbor, Bernard. We used to collect sea glass. Has anybody ever collected sea glass? Sea glass is so neat. It's like so cool. In spring, you can get it. It's really freaking cool. Yeah, it's very, very cool. And for some reason, I don't know if it's winter or what, but for some reason, spring is the time to get it the most. Walter, what's up, buddy? Thank you, Rochelle. It's very nice. It's very nice to literally, I can't explain how happy I am. Because we met when we were kids, literally. It's really fucking cool. All right. How about a crawler? How about a crawler experience? You guys want a crawler experience? I know you do. Penguin, how are you? I don't challenge death to a pillow fight unless you're prepared for a that was better. That was better, buddy. That was better. I like that one. Aaron, how are you, buddy? Glad you're here with us. Send me an email, please. Crystal, how are you? Elora, how are you? Wait, there's a sea glass museum, Teddy? No shit. That's cool. That is cool. Love the Melvins. Melvins are one of my favorite. Dude, Melvins and Napalm Death just did a new album together. For those of you that like a lot of music, Melvins and Napalm Death. Good stuff. I would have shared this long ago, but I didn't realize that these things were commonly referred to Aramic as crawlers. The closest I knew of that I could have been maybe a skinwalker, so I always referred to it as that. But after learning about crawlers, now I know what this was. Anyway, it happened to me and my brother when we were in our mid-20s in the middle of Tennessee. We were driving through a densely wooded area on our way to our friend's house to buy some weed. Long highway road that leads to Murfreesboro. This was late at night, maybe 11 p.m., as we'd worked the late shift together at a Ruby Tuesdays and had pretty much just gotten off of work. Settled in at home. Now we are out of weed. My brother's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. We're on our way there after following our directions and turning into a more suburban area. Off of the highway, we passed by a big wide open field to our left. Something caught my eye. So I looked over, and what I saw is best described as a completely bald, naked, skinny humanoid-like figure with a terrifying grimacing at us and charging directly at the car. from about 150 yards away, and it was moving at an alarming speed, faster than any animal I had ever seen. I shouted, "What the fuck?" So my brother looked and immediately saw it as well. He reflexively stepped onto the gas. In a matter of seconds, it had closed the gap and was literally leaping through the air at us. My only thought at this time was, it's coming into the car and it's going to make us crash straight through the window. I flinched right at the point of impact and closed my eyes, but then nothing happened as we continued driving forward. We both looked around trying to figure out what had just happened, where the thing went, but we could see no trace of it, and there was no crashing sound. The impact with the car, at least not one that either of us had noticed. I just assumed that whatever it was, it thankfully managed to just barely escape unscathed. However, about 1.5 minutes later, after driving at around 50 to get as far away as possible, unfortunately missing our turn and getting a little bit lost since we had never been to this friend's house before, we got a flat tire. It was the rear driver's side, the same side where this thing had charged us. I still to this day have no explanation for what the hell that thing was that we saw. It was not a mountain lion, hyena, or anything like that. It was humanoid in appearance, despite running with its body hunched forward, using its hands to move faster. I doubt it was a homeless crackhead, but you never know. If so, I'd like to know which drugs he had so I can try them. I don't even know how to describe its face other than it looked feral and very dangerous. And it was gritting what looked like a pair of very sharp, jagged teeth. It just looked very mean, definitely demonic. After hearing a story about one of these things jumping into a guy's truck while driving, I think speeding up and driving area where there were actual houses might have saved our lives, because there's a good chance this thing was literally on top of the car or something and tried to get us to stop by stabbing our tire. It still creeps me out when I think about this. I was not on drugs or hallucinogenics at the time. We were out of weed, and at this point in our lives, we mostly drank and smoked weed. No LSD, no shrooms, no synthetics, or anything that could cause us both to hallucinate at the same time. We still talk about this regularly, and I remember it vividly. Avenged Sevenfold, decent band. All right, I'm going to share the story with pictures. Tina Marie, how are you? Sunny Wandering Gypsy, how are you? Mihala? These are actually really cool. This story, I was super stoked when I found this. So I'm pretty impressed with it. Hang on one second. Make sure. All right, here it is. This is long, so I apologize. I am trying to include as much information as possible. As far as I know, the creature has never... It has oftentimes made me feel unsafe and threatened. As the years passed, I began paying less mind to it and just putting the feeling in the back of my head. January 2012, I bought a horse and began boarding it at a very old barn. It was a small, tight-knit, friendly barn community not far from my house. It had been around since the 60s, surrounded by woods. There were two barns. The main arena was entirely surrounded by thick woods, and there were small trails in those woods behind the property. Fast forward to June 2012. Now I had two horses there. I was there every single day without fail, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I fed the horses and cared for them. I rode one every night as well, mainly in the arena, but sometimes in the barnyard. There were no fields or arena lights, just the moon and stars. One evening at around 5 p.m., I was sitting on her, letting her stand, when she started snorting and backing up. I looked up and saw something white gray crawling out of the woods towards us. It had a very small round head. Its eyes were just pits. Its eyes were just pits. It had a very small mouth, not much detail. Its arms were very long and thin, fingers also like that. Its rib cage was very pronounced and defined. Its legs were long and lanky. Its movements jerky, not smooth and fluid. It slowly jerked out to us. When my horse turned and bolted out of the arena, she's dead broke calm, well-mannered horse, never spooked before this. Stubborn old mare, but not spooky. She would not go back into the arena that night. I walked her around the barnyard, staying near the main barn, put her up, and ran out to peek into the arena to find nothing except my footprints where I saw the thing. Throughout that summer, I saw it peeking, mostly dancing around the gate and led into the woods where the trails were. One night, roughly a month later, at around 9 p.m., I'm riding that horse again in the front pasture. The moon was full and bright, and I looked to my left to see the creature running full spread by my side on the other side of the fence. I slowed my horse to the stop, and it took off around the corner and behind the side of the barn into the woods. I continued seeing it, but in the woods, it was always around. 2013, summer of, the barn shut down by the owner. We moved the horses to a friend's place for the time being and didn't see it there. Late summer, fall 2013, find a new barn, woods directly behind the barn in the arena. This place had lights, much newer. About a month later, I was getting ready to leave and I heard something in the woods. I looked down the barn aisle into the woods and I saw the creature running down the road into the woods. I saw it much less frequently for a while until late fall 2014. I began seeing it back in the pastures. I saw a second one sitting in the neighbor's yard. It would sit in the same spot every day and watch. Started taking pictures, which are very poor and crappy, but send them to a friend who claimed he and some others had seen the same thing. Kept seeing it occasionally, but from a much greater distance than the first barn. I went with this barn owner to another farm to get some stuff when I saw the very large version of this creature run out of the woods right behind a tree 10 feet from us. While I was alone by the trailer last November, I house sat the barn owner's house. I went out at around 2 a.m. to fill the water troughs and enjoy the full moon and cool night. I was sitting in the back pasture when 3 of these creatures began coming out of the woods. One came up to the trees near the trough where I was. The other 2 walked along the tree line. The horses were silently munching their hay pretty far from where the creature were. I messaged the guy from earlier who told me what was going on. Since that incident, I have not seen them. Last summer, I did see one outside my house staring into the woods a few weeks ago. One was outside my bedroom window, tapping and making a strange faint sound. All right, here are these pictures. So it's kind of blurry, and I apologize. But first picture, it's there, right there. Those are the woods. That's the pasture of the arena. Okay. Next picture. Right there. Right there. There's the big tree, and then that one right there. Like I said, they're blurry, but they're better than nothing. Then there's the two. Okay. And then they kind of drew a map with the woods. Now, this is from the first picture. You see that one right there. Right there. And then they kind of drew this off to the side. And then they drew their own kind of rendition of what they saw. And it is very much a crawler, my friends. It is very much a crawler. So, fucking awesome story. Hang on, I got to take my hoodie off real quick. All right. Is it time for a song, guys? Is it time for a song? I think it is time for a song, right? What's holy shit, Arabic. That is good. All right, here we go. Because 20 bucks is 20 bucks. That's for you, DB Mac. That's for you, buddy. A rake is a creepypasta. The rake is a creepypasta name for the crawler. The rake was initially a creepypasta. That's the name of it. The crawlers are essentially, my back itches, sorry. So anyone want to guess what that was? I wish it was I'm the Man. Yes, George. George got it. Billy Joel, Piano Man. Fucking A, George. Fucking A. Good job, my friend. Good job. And it was not ABBA. No, Nexus, the cop was there today, though. He was there today. Fucking eyeballing me. Not too bad, Jager. I cleaned her all out. Cleaned it out with the orange spray. Troy, what's up, buddy? How are you? I don't know. You know, I think crawlers, my idea in what crawlers are. Yeah, N4UPD, Tim Coonbo Baker. He was not the originator of the shofar. Actually, a friend of his had told him how to use it, and Tim told me how to use it, and that's why I have it. But Mr. Shackleneck got that for me. But yeah, I think crawlers, my theory of these creatures, and please remember, anyone new to the community of cryptids, there are no experts in this field. My theory is just as good as yours, your theory just as good as mine. And that's what's the greatest. It's a pseudoscience, essentially. And I believe that crawlers were created by the reptilian Draco and the gray alien, maybe using human DNA as well, using their DNA and our DNA to create some sort of creature to protect these deep underground facilities that they live in. Because DUMBs is such a stupid name for them because they've been around longer than the fucking military. So I go into the woods, not in a Jeep. I go by foot where Tom Mezek disappeared, the missing 411 in the Adirondacks. So, yes, deep underground facilities. Yes. Damage, how are you? Savage Lunatic, how are you, my friend? Long time. I know that's one of your favorite movies, 59. All right. I know I have a Dogman story in here somewhere. I was not planning on sharing this, but I have not been able to shake it. A few nights ago, I went back to a trail I used to walk all of the time when I was younger. It's just outside of town, nothing special, mostly pine, a narrow path with an old clearing not too far in. I hadn't been out there in years, but something was just kind of pulling me back. At first, everything was normal, quiet, no wind, no movement, just a heavy silence you get deep in the woods. 10 minutes in, I started noticing how it was still actually, 10 minutes in, I started noticing how still it actually was. No insects, no leaves moving, nothing. And that's when I felt it, not heard, felt, like something was watching me from off the trail. I stopped walking and just stood there for a second trying to listen, and that's when I caught movement to my right, something tall just beyond the tree line. It did not move like a person, and it definitely did not move like any animal. It stayed just out of full view, like it knew exactly where the darkness was the thickest. I don't know how to explain this part, but the second I noticed it, I had this overwhelming feeling that I was not supposed to be there. Like I walked into something. I left pretty quick after that. Didn't run, but didn't stick around either. Haven't been back since. All right, what time is it? All right, how about a Lizo story, guys? Lizo story? Doom, if you like videos like that, I've been to the Conjuring house. That video's on my channel. I've actually got some really good, pretty good footage of the crooked neck lady and some other stuff. My daughter, Isabel, when she was like 14, maybe 15, we went and we rented the house for the night. It was crazy. Doom Panda, if you just type in my name in the search bar of YouTube, so type in Jeff Nadolny and then Conjuring House, the video will come up. It's about an hour and 28 minutes long. And like I said, me and my daughter Isabel, I rented the house so we could just go, and I got probably some of the best footage of a crooked neck lady on an SLS camera ever. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I've not seen any better footage on an SLS camera of the Crooked Neck Lady or anything at the Conjuring House. So, Lizo the Lot Lizard strikes again. You ready? The neon sign over Mary Ann's Diner flickered open 24/7. In a tired amber glow, a beacon for every weary traveler who had ever tried to cross the endless belt of the Texas highway that stretched like a ribbon of dust. The diner was more than a place to get coffee. It was a kingdom. The throne of the rust-stained 1950s booth with cracked vinyl seats, and the queen was a woman who could make a 75-ton diesel engine purr like a kitten. Lizo the Lot Lizard, her nickname earned in a back lot where she ran a business that paid the motel's electricity bill, sat behind that throne, a hulking silhouette of tattoos, leather, and a grin that could split a steel pipe. The scent of fried onion and diesel hung in the air. The clatter of plates was punctuated by the low thrum of 18-wheelers. Earl, her boy toy, as the girls called him, though he preferred Counselor of the Night, slunk into the booth, his trucker hat tipped back over a head of silver gray hair. He was the only man who could keep up with Lizo's swagger without breaking a sweat. Behind his cracked knuckles was the smell of gasoline. Earl carried a quiet confidence that made the other misfits, drifters, and rust-stained coats, a bartender named Joe, who could throw a bottle like a pro, and the legend of ladies of the night who called themselves the Night Queens, feel safe. The night was thick, the sky bruised violet, like barely let the stars peek through. A low wind rattled the parking lot's chain-link fence, making the orange and red tin sign whine like a chorus of distant sirens. Suddenly, a monstrous black tractor trailer rolled into the lot, its tires screeching against the cracked concrete, as if the road itself was protesting. Earl's eyes widened. "That's no rig, Lizo. That looks like they're a hearse from a dead planet." Lizo cracked her knuckles. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "Good. The more dead things we bring in, the more we can make a profit from their problems." The trailer's rear doors yawned open, revealing an impossible sight, a sleek metallic saucer, no bigger than a vending machine, nestled inside a wooden crate, its surface humming with a faint violet light. Beside it, three gaunt, blue-skinned beings lay inside of a cage. Shit. Sorry, guys. Made of alloy no human eye could ever name. Their eyes, large, watery, and impossibly sad, stared at the world they were about to lose. An unmarked government van pulled up beside the trailer. Two agents in dark suits swept the rifle slung across their shoulders like a fashion accessory. The driver, a man with a shaved head and a scar that ran from his cheek to his chin, tipped his cap to the occupants. "Ladies," the lead agent snarled, "the Department of Extraterrestrial Containment has a warrant. Those specimens are to be transported to a secure facility in Nevada. No interference." Lizo snorted, a sound that made the neon flicker. "You think we're going to let some feds take our alien friends? This is my kingdom. I'm the queen of this lot, and I don't answer to the Pentagon." Earl rose, his boots thudding against the linoleum. "You know the rule is, no one leaves Mary Ann's without paying a toll, and tonight the toll is lethal." The agents laughed, a cold sound that seemed to make the night grow darker. The first agent raised his rifle. The second rummaged through his bag and pulled out a small humming device, an EMP grenade the size of a coffee mug. "Stand down," Lizo demanded. The whole place seemed to lean in. "Or you can try your little toys on a queen who's already taken down a gang of highway robbers, a tornado, and cursed waltz that made the whole town forget how to speak English for 3 days." And she was serious. Her eyes glinted like polished steel. Yet there was something else there, a spark of mischief that made the entire diner shake with the promise of chaos. Ladies, ladies, everybody, Joe shouted from behind the bar. Take a seat. This is going to be the most exciting night of our lives. She flicked the switch on the jukebox, and the old rock anthem roared. The bass vibrated the metal bolts of the trailer. A sudden screeching horn from the black rig split the air. The trailer's rear doors slammed shut, and the alien cage rattled as if the creatures inside sensed impending danger and death. Then the back of the trailer tilted, revealing a hidden hatch that opened like a mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, Lizo said, welcome to the Fight Club of the Cosmos. She lunged forward, grabbing a half-full bottle of root beer, swinging it like a club. The glass shattered against the liege agent's head, spraying a sticky foam across the face and visor. The agent hissed, his hand sweeping for his rifle as he tried to wipe the sugary mess away. Earl, moving with a silent sprang, tackling the second one to the ground. In one smooth motion, he twisted the EMP grenade and flung it toward the trailer's crate. The device detonated, and a burst of bright white electromagnetic wave rippled through the air, flying the agent's weapons and causing the metal cage to glow. The aliens, shrunken by shock, let out a chorus of soft, mournful hums that resonated like an eerie choir. The eyes widened as if the cage door flickered and unlocked. Free 'em, Queen, shouted one of the Night Queens, a little woman named Velvet who carried a switchblade tucked into her garter belt. Lizo, with a grin that could have melted steel, flung a bar stool at the cage. The metal slammed into the lock, bending it like a pretzel. The cage doors were burst open, and the alien trio rose, their bodies shimmering like a dim light. They were not terrifying monsters the government had painted. They were spindly, fragile, and their sadness turned into a fierce, radiant glow as they hovered a few inches above the ground. Thank you, tallest alien whispered, his voice an echo that made the walls of Marianne's tremble. We were taken from our world by it gestured to the agents, and we were to be turned into specimens. You have given us a chance to return. The alien lifted a translucent holographic device from its pocket. A map of the stars flickered, and a soft hum filled the air. The UFO, now humming a resonance, hovered above the trailer's roof, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Earl stepped forward, eyes fixed on the glowing craft. You gonna take them home, Queen? Lizo nodded. But first, we'll teach those boys a lesson they won't forget. The two dazed agents scrambled to their feet, trying to rearm themselves. One lunged at Lizo, wielding a baton. She caught his wrist with a grip that would crush a bottle. With a flick, she snapped his wrist, sending the baton skittering across the polished floor. Talk, she snarled. What do you think you're doing? Kidnapping a bunch of scared alien children and parading them like circus animals. The second agent, still shaking, tried to pull his radio. We have orders from a man who thinks the world is a black box, and he's the only one with the key, Lizo roared. Well, guess what? The key's missing, and you just handed it over to the Queen, who runs the truck stop and makes more money off coffee than the whole country does off taxes. A sudden flash of violet light erupted from the UFO, sending a wave of energy through the diner. The aliens, now fully powered, lifted their hands. The two agents levitated, their faces turning into a pale shade of green as a strange force pulled at their insides. The older, scared agent let out a strangled gasp. The humming turned into a low, resonant chord that reverberated the cracked neon. sign until it sputtered and died, leaving the diner bathed in surreal, otherworldly glow. Earl, grinning, picked up a pair of discarded metal chains from the floor. He wrapped them around the levitating agents, pulling them toward the cage. The aliens, with a gentle touch, pulled the cage shut. The agents now occupied that cramped space, their bodies contorted as they struggled against the invisible force. The world isn't big enough for your kind of terror, Lizo said, and then the shortest alien repeated, its voice suddenly clear and commandingly loud. The cage door sealed shut with a hiss, and a soft metallic clank echoed as the agents were locked inside. Now, the alien continued, we shall return home. With a burst of light, the UFO lifted off of the trailer's roof. The alien trio stepped into its silver hull. The craft's thrusters ignited, sending out a low roar that rattled the trailer. Hold on to your hats, Lizo shouted as the whole lot had to brace against the shock wave. The UFO shot up, disappearing into the night sky, leaving behind a comet-like trail that split the darkness into a violet canvas. The diner fell silent except for a crackle of broken neon signs. The night queens clapped each other on the shoulders, smiling. The alien cage, now empty, still sat in the middle of that floor, a reminder of how bizarre. What the hell? Sorry, guys. How bizarre a battle that had just taken place. Lizo turned to Earl, her eyes glinting with triumph. You think that's the end? She asked, a mischievous grin formed. Oh, no. We got a little gift for the White House. She opened the cage. With a swift, practiced motion, she lifted the two agents, now limp and pale, into her arms. We're sending a little feedback, she said, cradling the agents as if they were newborn kittens. She placed the two men into a battered metal box lined with a thick layer of tar and a few slices of jerky, a souvenir from the diner's kitchen. Inside the box, a note was taped to the lid in bold, blocky lettering. Do not mess with the Queen, Donald. She slung the box into a stack of greasy takeout containers, trying to piece together of twine around, tossed it into the back. God damn it. She slung the box onto the stack of greasy takeout containers, tied a piece of twine around it, and tossed it into the back of the passing semi, a truck that she had whispered into earlier, promising a special delivery and a secret note for the big man in the White House. The driver, a hulking, grizzled man named Buck, caught the package and, with a chuckle, drove off into the night. The rig's taillights blinked like a warning. The night queens laughed. The jukebox finally sputtered back to life with a twangy country song, and the neon sign flickered back on, painting the diner's windows with an amber glow. One of the drifters, a lanky man named Rusty, who never owned a passport, raised his glass of cheap bourbon. To Lizo, the queen of the lot lizards, queen of the night, queen of the whole damn more. Earl raised his own glass, his eyes meeting hers from across the table. To the kingdom we built on gasoline and grit, and to the aliens that showed us there's still something bigger than a busted trailer. Maybe the government never found its way to lock us up. Lizo took a long look. Tomorrow, she said, we'll open a new section in the diner, space, and charge the same price as a combo meal. And if anyone tries to mess with us again, we'll send them straight into the White House in a box with a note that says, we love you, Donald. The crowd roared with laughter. Can you hear her banging out there? That's why I'm stopping listening to what she's doing. The crowd roared with laughter. The sound echoed into the desert night. Outside, the highway stretched, the endless, unforgiving. Within the walls of Marianne's, the queen and loyal boy toy had proven that even the most powerful governments could be outwitted by a lot lizard with swagger and a heart the size of a 75-ton diesel engine. And somewhere far above the clouds, the alien trio watched their homeworld spin into the distance, their hearts lightened by the knowledge that on a dusty Texas stopover, a queen named Lizo had turned a terrifying night into legend. The stars would whisper about this forever. The neon sign flickered once more, as if flickering the same. Come on back tomorrow, Lizzo called, empty parking lot. If you got more alien cargo, we'll be waiting. Sorry, that was long. I'm sorry. Shut up your face. What's up, buddy? DB Mac, have a good night, buddy. Thank you, Jager. Thank you. Well, could you guys hear the pounding out there? My daughter's like opening the cabinets. Just got to slam them. Give her a stunner. Hi, buddy. Ha ha, you little bastard. Jager, thank you, buddy. That was fucking gross. Gross. Jordan Stevens, how are you? Hang on a second. I got to get my daughter spaghetti. I got to show her where it is. Hang on one second. Where are you? Isabel. Out here now. Shake the toilet. Sorry, guys. All right. Ruth, how are you? It was awesome, wasn't it, Aramic? It was awesome. Jager, thank you. Boondock. I live in Virginia, and there's an Appalachian Trail about 10, 20 minutes away. When I was in third grade, I had to go to a landmark somewhere in Virginia for a historical project, and I got assigned to the Appalachian Trail. I didn't mind. My aunt and uncle lived there, and I loved to visit. The first time, me and my mom got to the location mixed up. We went somewhere similar, but not quite there. The entire time, I felt weird. I have anxiety, so I brushed it off as normal. We came back again the next day, this time to the actual trail. Me and my mom hiked about 8 miles up, 8 miles back the entire time. I was terrified. My mom knew something was up, but I didn't say anything, so we continued. Something was watching me, and I could feel it. A few years later, I went to my aunt and uncle's house. The entire family was there, so I left to decompress. I heard what sounded like a scream about 5 minutes later. I just brushed it off. They had seen plenty of mountain lions in the area, and it sounded very far away. 3 minutes later, I heard one of the dogs barking. They bark and play all the time, so again, I ignored it. Then my dog ran past me. She was not playing. She did not have a ball in her mouth or a dead animal or anything. She just ran. By now, my hands are shaking. I began jogging back to the house fast enough to not stay in the woods for long, but slow enough that I could just say, I want to run. I saw something from the corner of my eye, a tall, thin creature with thin limbs and a big black eyes. It felt like I couldn't breathe, my heart pounding loud enough that I was sure the thing could hear it. I took off running toward the house. By the time I got there, I was crying. I explained it to my sister, who believed me immediately. We never lied to each other, and I have no reason to. I hate crying. She knows this and knows that I won't fake cry to prank someone. I have no idea what this creature was. I have heard stories similar to mine, and most of them call this thing the crawler or something. So I wanted to share and ask, what do you think I saw? All right, I know we're going to do a black-eyed kids and a shadow person. You guys want a black-eyed kids? Black-eyed kids? All right. Let's bring in shadow person, something for my grandparents. Okay. Ugh. Carrie Kistner hadn't intended to stop at the Triangle Town Center Mall on her way home from Wake Tech College near Raleigh, North Carolina, but she did. She wished she had. There were a few people there that day and found it strangely eerie how quiet it was. Kistner, 20, said, while walking back to my car, I rounded a corner and saw an older lady and a young boy. He immediately caught my attention because he was so odd looking. I had never seen anyone like him. A boy about 12 years of age seemed to average at first, but Kistner watched him talk with the woman. He seemed anything but average. The boy's black hair contrasted sharply with his pale skin. Dark patches hung under his eyes. It looked like he hadn't slept for weeks, Kistner said. He had a very thin face. As Kistner walked closer to the pair, she heard their conversation. In a quiet but strong voice, the boy asked the woman for help. He stood very rigid with his hands by his sides, looking at the ground as she fished around in her purse for something to give him. Kistner said, as I got closer, I noticed he seemed to get more and more uncomfortable. The boy began to shift his body when Kistner passed them on their way to the car. Then he lifted his head and made eye contact with her, and I froze. His eyes were black as night, very dull, almost dead, Kistner states. The look he gave me was haunting. The feeling I got from him was as though he was not all there, almost ghostly. Eyes locked on Kistner, the boy turned slowly and, not waiting for the older woman to give him what she was digging out of her purse, simply walked away. Kistner doesn't know who or what the boy was, but this memory will stick with her forever. Ever since then, the look he gave Kistner has haunted her. She said, almost like he knew what I was thinking. What was this individual Kistner saw at the Raleigh Mall? A black-eyed children. Something undead. Ezekiel Finch is convinced this boy and people like him are not human, at least not anymore. I've run into these things more than once. Different ones in different states. With a fair degree of certainty, I can tell you these things are maybe vampires. Finch has had 2 close encounters with black-eyed people, one in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the other in a medium-sized city on the East Coast where he lives, and chose not to identify. 2 of my most extensive encounters were within very, very close quarters in the low 30s, Finch said. I watched them as closely as I could, standing in the very cold night amongst a small crowd of people. Finch suddenly felt uneasy. Something was wrong with these people. First, it was their black eyes flatly staring over unnatural smiles. Then it was all subtler. People breathe all the time. They inhale before speaking. And that's it, Fitch said. When they did speak, you didn't see anything, not a damn thing. Everyone else has visible breath. They didn't. Finch stood watching the pair chatting with people around them. Steam rose from everyone else's mouth. Not a thing from them, he said. Finch studied them closely for the next 10 minutes and saw why the pair's breath wasn't visible in the cold night. They weren't breathing, no movement from the torso at all, still as a corpse. Black-eyed people have become a staple in conversations of strange and the unknown, and almost every reported encounter is eerily similar. Children as young as 6 years of age to adult age approach people alone or with a partner and beg for help. Please let us in. Give us a ride. Follow us here. Permission to enter is also a legendary trait of the vampires. So Finch thinks these things are vampires. I don't know. Maybe. What do you guys think? Vampires? What do I think they are? I think they're demons. I think myself they're demons. I'm going to hang out for like 19 minutes. I'm done reading for tonight. My eyes are tired. I wasn't going to do a live, but I decided to do one. So let's just hang out for a little bit. Shoot the breeze. How about that? Adam Condon, I don't believe in vampires as the way of like Dracul with the teeth and sucking blood. I believe that there are energy vampires. And I believe they are multidimensional. I think, after reading that college thesis from the University of Hawaii about inorganic beings, dimensional inorganic beings, they literally sound like a energy vampire. And I think, yeah, Loosh. And that's what I believe they are within, these regions of these dimensions. And science actually backs it. That's their thing. Yeah, I miss Victor as well. I really do. Jeff, what does tofu and a dildo have in common? I don't know, Nexus. What does it? Vertebraker, what's up, my friend? YouTube belt me off this channel for 15 minutes. Wait, what happened? Wait, they belt you off. How did they belt you off, Aramek? That's good, Nexus. Eric Cruz, they belted you off too? That's weird. I don't like that too much. I'm not a very big fan of that. Apparently, dude. What the hell? Not a fan. The hell's that noise? Yeah, YouTube does stuff periodically like that. I don't know why they do that. I know why they do it, but I'm not saying why they do it. I've been doing this for 8 years. So I know exactly why they do it. Oh, yes, they are. They are. Definitely. Well, I'm sorry, Aramic and Eric. Whoever got pushed off, that's total bullshit. Yes, Adam Condon, I agree. I agree. Yes, they did. They really did. Didn't like my humor or thought I was diverse. Yeah, usually my first hunch is right. Yeah. 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 And yeah. Yeah, and they put ads in the live stream. They kicked him off the live stream for a minute. Exactly. Exactly, Jager. Uh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. But yeah, I'm glad I did the live stream tonight. I'm sorry it wasn't as long as normal. I'm so tired lately. And that's why I had some other stuff that I was gonna handle if I needed to. But I'm just so drained lately, you know. It's like literally I've never missed a live stream. Do you realize that? In the 3 years we've done live streams, I've never missed one. Ever. In my wake. No kidding, Callan. No kidding. I even after my surgery, if you guys have been around that long, I even after my surgery, I didn't. I literally had surgery on a Friday, no, on a Thursday. Went back in quick, and then freaking had, had it on a Saturday. Did it no problem. What's up, Joy? How are you? I know. Thank you, Marceline. Yep, Wiley, that's it, buddy. That's it. All right, I am going to end the night. Guys, thank you for hanging out this weekend. Next weekend we'll be back to normal. I'm going to get some sleep. I literally slept 2 hours last night, so I'm literally thinking about crawling into bed and sleeping for like fucking 6 hours, just right out. So, guys, thank you for everything. I really had a blast with you guys. I really appreciate everything you guys do. And you guys make my Saturday special, so I couldn't miss it tonight. You know what I mean? So with that, thank you for everything, and have a good night, guys. Have a good night. Have a good rest of your weekend, and have a good week this week too. So stay safe and don't let your meatloaf, whatever. All right, guys. I love y'all, and thank you once again. Good night.